Hi, everybody, and away we go with another edition of the Stampede Wrestling Show.
Welcome back to Heartbeat Radio. We're going to have a great show for you this evening with one of the great legends of wrestling, Abdullah the Butcher. But first of all, I'd like to introduce Mr. Trevor Blanchard. He's been around the wrestling scene in Chicago for many years and very respected. Trevor, your co-host is none other than the legend Bruce Hart. Bruce.
Thank you, Bob, and I just like to thank Trevor, but especially like to thank my old friend Abdullah. You know, often the word is overused, but a very legitimate legend, and my dad was promoting for over 50 years, and Abdullah was his favorite. He always had the highest regard and the most respect for Abdullah, and when Abdullah came into the territory, it took off like it had never taken off before. We did the best business ever. Abdullah always had a special place in my dad and my mom's heart, and I was just sort of a young, wet, behind-the-ears, snot-nosed punk at that time, and I was able to watch Abdullah every Friday night, and my brothers Brett and all the Harts were all in awe of Abdullah. He was like the ultimate heel that we ever had in the territory, and he did incredible business. He was up there for several years, and he was like selling out every week, every town, and he had some great faces to work with, like Billy Robinson and some of them, but he took a lot of other guys that nobody thought would do any business, and he sold out with them too, you know, guys like Jerry Christie and all kinds of them. So I'm really honored, and it's a real pleasure for me to have Abdullah on the show, you know, and if he worked with Abby, it was almost instant business. You know, he had this uncanny knack for making guys marketable. He took all kinds of nondescript baby faces that nobody had any kind of notion that they could do any business, and all of a sudden they'd be selling out working with Abby. And
that's really wonderful. Abby?
Yes, sir.
Bob Johnson, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on Heartbeat Radio this evening. Wrestling fans, here is the legend himself, WWE Hall of Famer Abdullah the Butcher. Welcome to Heartbeat Radio.
I'll do anything for the Hart family. Anything what you guys want to ask me, I'm there. And I wish that the father was still alive and the mother. But they were like my father and my mother to me, the Hart family. I always had the picture of Stu Hart and myself, and it's in my restaurant.
And I'd like to thank you very much for that, Ab. And you've already done so much for the Hart family. As I said before, when you first came up here in, I believe it was 1970, I remember a guy named Jack Britton had called my dad from Montreal, and he was raving about this heel that they had down there, and Jack Britton used to book like Sky Low and those guys in for my dad, and he called and said, Stu, I've got this incredible heel, and I'd like you to bring him out to Calgary. And my dad brought you out, and at that time business was okay, but it hadn't been great for us, you know. We'd been sort of up and down, you know, and it was unbelievable. First night Abby came out there, it was like electrified, and I think he worked with some rookie, maybe a guy named Dan Crawford or one of those guys, and all of a sudden, it was like people were all like, whoa, you know, this is for real and all like that, you know, and instant business after that. It was like sold out every week, every city that we wrestled in Calgary and Edmonton and Saskatoon and Regina and all these other places. And I remember Abby had a good run there with Billy Robinson, who was a pretty decent face that had just come in, and then he took some of these old guys like Dave Rule and them and revitalized them. But yeah, my dad was always a huge fan of Abby's. He always, years later, whenever he was talking to anyone, he'd always, Abby's heard all the Stu Hart impersonations, but he'd be going, I get it, That time Abdullah, he was possibly the biggest draw we ever had in the damn territory. He was packing them every damn night. You know? so it was real.
But Mr. Hart, you know what you forgot? You forgot that with your father, I sold out 6 times with your father.
Oh yeah, I forgot to mention that.
In Calgary, Alberta, with your father. You understand?
Oh yeah, I should mention that too. That I remember my dad got in the ring with Abby, and it was sold out every time. And the funny thing is, I remember some of my younger brothers and sisters were like they didn't know anything about the wrestling being a work or anything, and they were all terrified, you know. They're like scared that this Abby was going to kill Stu and all like that, you know. And my dad would come home and his head would be bandaged up, and
but the best thing was when I came into the territory, your brother was being a referee, right? And when I walked in and I pointed at your brother. And then your brother went to say something, and I grabbed him, and I threw him out of the ring. I mean, I hit him with a karate chop. He fell out. He went to the floor. I started kicking him. And there was a small little Hart brother who come running real fast. And I grabbed him, and I ran him into the door. I never ran him into the door. And then all of a sudden, like Ed Whalen.
Oh, yeah, Ed Whalen, the TV announcer, yeah.
I mean, put your hand. Did you see him put his hands on that, like on your son? And Stu was on TV, like he's having an interview. Stu says,
yeah.
Hey, and let me tell you, I would never put my hands on that black bastard. Beep, right, beep, beep, right. And all of a sudden, Stu came into the dressing room, and like he was like a leopard. He said, Ab, would you do me a favor, please? I want to talk to you for a minute. But if I would have let Stu Hart get close to me, he wanted to put me into a chokehold. So when he finally got his hands on me, I backed away from him. I said, Stu, I know what you're trying to do. I said, but your kids knew what I was going to do. And then Stu said, hey, Ab, next time you kill the bastards. but the territory took off then. That's when it took off. Yep.
Yeah, I remember that. As you said, Abby, he was like, you were like his second son to him. You know, he was like, he had a very...
Oh, he said the first son. He said...
First son.
He says, he said to me, Abdullah, he said, listen, he says, I have in my house, I have a white cat and I have a black cat. He says, but the white cat, I don't feed it too much. Take care of that one. And I said, Stu, what do you mean? He says, well, Ab, you're drawing me all the money. So the white cat, I'm not going to feed him too good. Like that. That was it. Yep. It was good. It was good. Stu's wife, she used to make me like a birthday cake every January 11th. I said, Stu, can I ask you a personal question? Why does your wife keep making me a chocolate birthday cake, right? And then Stu got there and said, Ab, she thinks so much about you, she wants to keep it into the family. And that was it. But it was good, though. Really good. Yeah. Every Christmas, they always give me something. They always made me birthday cakes. And I used to go up to the house. You know, they would fix me a little something to eat and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, Stu was really good to me.
I remember so many of those baby faces when you first came in, Abby. They were, nobody had ever heard of them before, and they're all pretty green. And so many of them went on to become big stars, like Carlos Colon and Crawford and Angelo Mosca, guys like that. The British guys, Billy Robinson, all them.
You got to remember, like, what's his name? Wayne Coleman. Remember when Wayne Coleman came into the territory?
Yeah, he was
He couldn't even work.
Yeah, he had been playing football up here for Calgary, and then he got cut, and then Stu always liked the bodybuilder types, the big muscle guys, and so Coleman was kind of trying to get his foot in the door, and I remember you were the guy helping him the most. You gave him a lot of really good advice, and you sort of took him under your wing and helped get his career launched, and you were one of the guys telling my dad to look after him, and you were kind of taking care of him, and telling all the other boys to give him a break and all like that, and
That's right. And then your father made him. Remember, when he came into the territory, he didn't have a pair of wrestling shoes, but the main part about it, your father helped him, and your father used to say to me, Ab, he said a lot of stars came from this territory. People came from this territory. A lot of top guys, Johnny Valentine. Then his son came over.
Yeah.
Remember, all these guys.
Johnny Valentine, Killer Kowalski, Kiniski.
That's right.
Stasiak, guys like that,
Yeah.
He always would tell everyone that he used to work in New York, a guy named Dr. Jerry Graham, and he was up here at that time, and he kind of hooked up with Wayne Coleman, and next thing you know, Coleman had left the territory and changed his name to Billy Graham and all like that, but and my dad always used to tell anyone later on when Coleman or Billy Graham became a star, that the guy that was the biggest influence on him and did the most to teach him about ring psychology and how to work and how to get over was you. And he said that Abdullah was the guy who gave Coleman all the lessons on ring psychology and how to work a crowd, how to get heat, how to cut a promo and all that stuff. And my dad always used to say that he was hopeful that Wayne Coleman was grateful to you for all you did for him, because I remember my dad told me you would take him out for a meal and you would look after him on the road, and you would be constantly telling him what to do and what not to do and to take his time and how to work a crowd and all that stuff, and bent over backwards to try to help him. And my dad was hopeful that he appreciated it and thanked you for all you did for him.
What your father told me? That was the time when Jim Barnett called your father and said to your father, I need Abdullah the Butcher. They wanted me to go to Australia. And Stu Harts came to me and said, Abdullah, I'm not going to tell you nothing, but if you go to Australia, do me a favor, come back and work my territory for me. And I told Stu, thank you very much. I left. I went to Australia, then I came back, worked a little bit more there, and that was it.
This is Trevor Blanchard in Chicago. It's an honor and a pleasure to be able to talk with you. My first recollection and seeing you, I think, was on the Superstation. I was out in Colorado visiting my grandmother. We didn't have cable here in Chicago at the time. My parents didn't, and I remember seeing you, and I was like, wow, this guy. I was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 or 11, and I was just like, wow, they actually let this guy in the ring, and, everything that you were doing, because, I wasn't smart to the business, but I was just a fan, and I was just like, my eyes were just like glued to the TV, watching you now do your thing, but I'm just like, you're basically, killing the poor guy that you were in the ring with. I don't recall the guy's name, but that was my first exposure to you. And then I actually saw you live at when you were working with Vern at the Rosemont Horizon. It was you and Brody, and I think there was one other person. Maybe it was Shikadna KC against Jerry Blackwell, and I forget maybe it was Greg Gagne and Jim Brunzell. But I remember you were standing in the aisleway, and a fan, threw a chair, and it hit you on your left rib cage in your back. And I remember I was just kind of amazed that somebody, number one, would throw a chair, and then all you did was just you kind of looked over to your left who the hell just threw that at me? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I don't know. people have been throwing stuff at me for so long, it's unbelievable. So
I remember Abby came back to Calgary in the I think it was about 1983, 84, somewhere in there, and we had some pretty good faces in the territory at that time, but they all became huge admirers, and these are guys who later on went on to become big stars like Dynamite Kid and Davey Boy and Brett. They all used to rave about Abdullah after that, and Dynamite, I think, became a good friend of Abdullah after, but he always used to tell me that Abdullah was one of his biggest heroes. He had the most admiration for Abdullah, and that's one of the things that always impressed me as well about Abdullah is all these legendary guys would always talk in such high respect. People like Harley Race and Terry Funk and Dory Funk and Billy Robinson and guys like that, and those guys are all legends. And if you ever talk to them about the great heels and the great workers and that they had ever run into in the wrestling business, the guy at the top of their list was always Abdullah, and they always had a good story about Abdullah, and they always used to say that they had done great business with Abdullah, whether it was in Japan or whether it was in the States or wherever. But I never heard one guy ever, any of those guys ever have anything but really nice things to say about Abby, and they always used to say the same stuff, that he did incredible business, he knew how to get heat, and he always would get them over too. He was one of those types of heels that never just got himself over, but he had the uncanny ability to make whoever he was working with look good and make that guy look like a world beater, and that's really the sign of a really great worker. Is almost any half-decent worker can get himself over, but only the really good ones can make whoever they work with look 10 times better than they really are. And I don't think a lot of today's wrestlers understand that ring psychology like Abby did. And I've been around since like the 70s. I've seen very, very few guys that understood it as well as Abby and could apply it in the ring. And if there was some of today's workers, were half as savvy or understood that as well as Abby, they would be doing way better business than they are today. They do 100 high spots and they do all this choreographed bullshit and all this stuff, and Abby would just go out and do it. He would get more heat with one little thing than these other guys with all their high spots and their ladders and their gimmicks and their props. I remember a few times I had the pleasure of getting in the ring with Abby, and you'd always say to Abby, anything you want to do, and he would always just say, we'll play it by ear. He never, no script or choreographed. He didn't have to go out there with 400 high spots and any of that stuff. He had an unbelievable knack for knowing when to finally let the face do the comeback. I remember all the faces in Calgary were always lined up begging my dad, can I work a program with Abdullah? And my dad would always say, is a long lineup, I'm not sure if I can accommodate you type thing,
I had a question for Abby. Do you watch wrestling now? And if you do, what are your thoughts on how the match? I mean, I know that a lot of fans have that short attention span because if you put somebody in a rest hold or something or an arm bar, they're going to start chanting boring or something. So they're used to the high pace. And I know things change, but do you watch wrestling still today, and do you enjoy it anymore?
Let me explain something to you first. Number one, I don't knock no wrestler who's trying to make a living. That's number one. Number two is this. One time I told Jim Barnett said, Abdullah, he said, what's wrong with the people? They're not saying nothing. I said, you know why they're not saying nothing? Every wrestler wants to do a high spot. You understand? They want somebody to throw them over the top rope, or they want to dive on the top rope. They want to do this. If a guy goes on the top rope and he gives you the knee, you're not supposed to get up. You're supposed to stay there. You understand what I mean? See, back in those days, we had guys like Calhoun, Tex McKenzie, guys like Valentine. Guys who knew how to get it, and they never took bumps. The Harts were the same way. His oldest brother, you understand, could grab a hold, work the hold, and get more heat, than anybody. The same thing with all these guys like the Funks. Dory Funk could grab a hold and get so much heat like it was going out of style. One time with Billy, I was wrestling like the champion, and Stu came to me and says, Ab, you're wrestling Dory Funk tonight, and Dory Funk is the world's champion. I said, Stu, he's the world's champion, all over. I am the world's champion in Calgary, Alberta. So Stu looked at me and said, Ab, you're right. So the best thing for you guys to do is to have a double DQ. We had a double DQ. We came back the next day, and that was on a Sunday. The next day, and we sold out again. Stu got there and says, Ab, what do you want to do? I says, he's the world champion, and I am the world champion in Calgary, Alberta. So I says, Stu, don't worry. I'll do something. The people be happy. I done something, bam, 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 bam. And the people wanted to come back for the third time. But Dory Funk had to go someplace else. But see, the main part about it is here in the wrestling business. When you are in Stu Hart's territory, nobody sat down and read a strip. Nobody walked into the ring and grabbed the microphone and started talking. I'm going to do this to you. I'm going to do that. There's somebody else come and do the same thing. We never, in Calgary, Alberta, and a lot of places where I work, I would not let people, wrestlers, come running into the ring to save somebody. And that's what we're doing. You see what I mean? You can't have all muscle men. You got to have big guys, Tex McKenzie, skinny guys. You got to have all types. And when you start seeing one guy going there, and the guy throws like a lariat. Stan Hansen would throw like a lariat, and people go, ooh. But then the guy went down and Stan, pinned him. Somebody else would come along and try to do the same thing, and the people go, oh, we just seen that. Somebody else come along and throw a drop kick. The people go, oh. Then all of a sudden they jump up, somebody else. So everybody was doing the same thing. And that's what's happening with the wrestling business today. Everybody is doing the same shit. When you see the first match, you see the second match, you see the third match, you see the match of the thing. Every time the Undertaker done something, he done something different. And it got over big time. You see what I mean? Stu Hart used to say, if you throw a chop, a karate chop, and you hit the guy so hard that people go, ooh, you don't hit him the second time because you can't get the punch from the second time. The first time, okay. If a guy throws a punch, it's the same thing. And that's what we are locking on, and that's it. They say that...
I would never ever see Abby waste a move. I remember when Abby was working up here, his finish was the flying elbow drop, and he would just do one, and it was always a pin, and he wouldn't waste it. I see these guys in WWE now, and they'll get a finish over, and then after a while they're using the finish as a damn high spot, and they're doing 5 pile drivers, and after a while it means nothing, and the fans don't know what the hell they're supposed to react to. When Abby used to do that elbow drop, everybody knew that was the finish, and that was that. There was never any guys getting up or kicking out. Some of these guys don't understand it. You go to all these lengths to make people believe this is a finish, and then next thing you know, you turn it into a high spot, and the fans after a while don't know what the hell they're supposed to react to. They get confused, and it's the promoter or the wrestler's fault. You never ever saw Abby doing high spot fests. It's what you make of it.
Hey, Abby, another question for you. When you were, whether it was in Japan or here in the States or down in Florida, who was the one guy that when you knew you were going to an area and you were going to work, you were like, man, I can't wait until we get in the ring and have some fun? Who was that one guy?
Everybody who I went in the ring with, I enjoyed all my matches. I enjoyed working with anybody because I took that fella and I made him. You understand what I mean? So all the guys who I've wrestled, the Funks or Harley Race, Hogan, Andre, all of them, you have to make each other. You understand? And
yes, sir.
I never said that, this guy was, he was this, he was my best opponent. No. Because any time that you can take a man, you understand, who was up in age then, was Stu Hart, and sell out 6 times, and then I said to Stu, what do you think? We should have another one? Stu says, Ab. He says, it's enough. You understand? But 6 times we sold out. And that was a small territory. But we sold it out 6 times, and the first time, I mean, when Stu used to throw that punch at me, Stu Hart was hitting me, but I seen money with Stu Hart. And then we worked an angle next week, the next week, and the next week. And then Stu got there. Stu said to me, Ab, what do you want to do? I said, Stu, I'm not going to beat you. And Stu says, all right, Ab, anything you want to do. We had a hell of a match. Stu jumped up, and I think that he hit the referee. He got DQ'd. They raised my hand. Me and Stu got back into it again, and that was it. So when you say somebody who you can do some business with, I would say that Stu Hart, who, at that time, who was way older than me, sold out with Abdullah the Butcher 6 times. And when you say who was the best, from this day I would say Stu Hart, because Stu Hart was at that time was an elder man, couldn't walk that well, but he was an elder man, and he knew how to get the people. The only thing he wanted to do was to hold your head and throw that uppercut to you, and the people bought it. So for 6 weeks, no.
I'm sure Bruce was growing up with
the best.
What about Frank, Bruiser Brody?
Right.
What stories can you talk about Frank, and whether it was here in the States or over in Japan? I know you guys did monster business over in Japan and also in Puerto Rico. One of the things that always amazed me is how you guys would be able to basically part the sea with the fans when you guys went out into the crowd. That always amazed me, that you guys, when you guys would go out, leave the ring and go out into the crowd, that everybody wanted to be close, but then when you guys started swinging, it was just like I said, partying of the Red Sea. What can you elaborate on Frank and his character and the times that you had? And I mean, I can't tell if you guys actually tried to do it. I think you guys are all business.
Well, every time that I stepped into the ring, any time that I stepped into the ring, it was business, because Bruiser Brody was a hell of a worker. You understand? I made a lot of money with Bruiser Brody. Brody knew how to work. You understand? If Brody hit you with a chair and you didn't go down, the second time when he hit you, you went down.
Yep.
You understand? If he kicked you understand? If Bruiser Brody kicked you and you didn't go down, when he hit that rope and came off, you had to go down. When Stan Hansen hit you with that lariat, if you didn't go down the first time, the second time when he hit you, you didn't get up. And that was it. I mean, Frank was a great worker, and I met his wife, and I met his little boy, you understand, when they came to Puerto Rico, but the main part about it was just here. You have a lot of great workers out there. I'm talking about, you could take guys like the Fung brothers, they knew how to work, and that's the name of the game, is knowing how to work, how to draw money. And I never did go into the ring and be talking to somebody in the ring. No. The only thing what I would say to somebody, come on, you son of a bitch, come on. And if they couldn't come, I would eat them up. And that was it. I'd give you the chance. You understand?
Yeah.
And that's why, even from this day, the Funks, Jack Briscoe, all these guys were professionals. They'd go there for an hour if they had to. And whoever that I wrestled with, I made sure that I give the people their money's worth. And, God bless, Frank. I wish he was still around. Frank was a great worker. And Frank didn't take no shit from no promoter. Understand? No promoter.
Yeah, I've heard stories about that. I've heard stories.
And I'm going to tell you something. A lot of promoters, you understand, when they ask me about promoters, I say to them, I don't trust a promoter. The only man that I trust, and when he told me something, and that was Stu Hart. You understand? And that's all I talk about. I always keep that in my mind. If Stu Hart said he's going to give me this, for this day or whatever, I got that. He never tried to beat me. He never tried, you know what I mean? When I used to go like in his limousine with him, Stu Hart would go up there and say, Ab, I feel a little hungry.
I remember my dad would say the same about you, Abby. He trusted you, and he always said your word was your bond. You know, that was all he needed. I don't think he ever had a contract or anything. My dad always said Abby's word was gold, and if Abby said he was going to be there at a certain time or he was going to do this or that, he said he was always right on. There was never any games or anything, but and my dad had great respect for that.
You remember the time like when I bought Les Thornton from Vancouver? I went into Vancouver and I wrestled Les Thornton there. I picked up the phone and I asked Les Thornton, I said, Les, how would you like to come into Calgary, Alberta? I said, let me call Stu Hart because I like the way you work when you draw some money. I got up there, I called Stu, and Stu says, Ab, how much does Les Thornton need? I said, well, his guaranteed money is, like here, I think he's only getting about $300 a week or something like that. And Stu said, well, give him a few more dollars and see if he'll come in. So I told him, I said, Stu said, come on in. If you get over, with Abdullah the Butcher, about it like that. And we sold out. And I told Stu Hart, I said, Stu, I'm going to Tokyo. I'm going to drop the belt to Les Thornton. So Stu says, Ab, you don't have to do that, but it's up to you. So anyways, I dropped the belt to Les Thornton. I went away for about a month. And when I came back, I said, hey, Les, how are you? He said, oh, hi. Stu Hart says, Ab, you see how they get kind of cocky. You made him, you give him the belt, now he don't even want to talk to you. but that was it. Stu always said, when somebody is hungry and you build them up, and as soon as that they get a few wins, they don't know you. They think that they're a superstar, and that's the way Stu always said it. And then when Stu told him, Stu said, Ab, he said, when do you want to take the belt back? I said, well, let him hang on to it until the next few ones, and then we'll work an angle. And then when he came to me and said, Ab, do you think that you should take the belt from me now? I said, well, no, we'll keep hanging on to it for another 3-4 weeks. But that's how you draw money. I never took the belt, and the people said, oh, Abdullah going to win the belt. I never took it. And then when the last time came, like I hit him with the gimmick, he went down, I covered him 1, 2, 3, took the belt, and ran out of the ring real fast. And that was it.
Abby never needed a belt. If you put one on him, he got it over. But I see a lot of guys today, they don't want to do a job, or they don't want to do a belt, drop a belt, or they don't want to get color, or they And with Abby, it was always all business. He was always for the business, not for himself, and that was one of the things that my dad respected and admired the most about Abby. He'd always say that Abby was all business. He didn't care about his own ego, and he didn't care whether he had to do a job or anything. He always was business, and he treated everyone with respect, and that was one of the reasons why he was so respected.
Hi, this is Bob. I have a question for Abby myself. Abby, can you tell us a little bit about your roots when you first got into the business? I know that you're a Canadian. You still have Canadian citizenship, or?
I am still a Canadian. I'm a resident of the United States, and the one who broke me into the business because I carried a 7th degree black belt, and I used to train the guys in Windsor, Ontario, karate and stuff, and I was at the Windsor Arena, and there was a guy by the name of Tito Martinello, but at that time my name was Rita Samir when I first started. So anyways, I started working with the Sheik. I was over too strong, you know what I mean, and that was it. She told me something, I didn't believe him. Any other promoter told me something, I didn't believe him, because they were worse than crooks. If Stu Hart told me something, I believed him, and that's why that I have the most respect for Stu Hart. Yes.
Can you listen, Abby? Can you tell me a really quick story about Crybaby Cannon, George Cannon?
Crybaby Cannon lived in Windsor, Ontario, right? He lived on Riverside Drive, and I lived on Church Street, close to Riverdale, right? Yeah. So George Cannon got up there, and he said, Abdullah, he said, listen to me, please. Rod Finton, who has Vancouver, he's looking for a black heel. At that time, I just got my new car, but I didn't know that George Cannon's car was already broke down. He wanted to use my car to go to Vancouver. And he said, Abdullah, he says, well, listen, he said, when you go to Seattle, Washington, they're going to let you work in Seattle, Washington. They're going to let you, back and forth. I said, oh, shit, that's good. He said, the guy's going to give you a break. So the promoter came to me. His name was Harry Ayyett. He says, Abdullah, do me a favor, please. Would you put this guy over for me? And I says, oh, yeah. And I said to myself, damn, if they're going to make me a star, how can they ask me to do this, right? Anyways, I went in the ring. I started doing my stuff. Bam, 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 bam. And I put in there calls to riot. Harry Ayyett ran down to the ring real fast. He told the referee, tell Abdullah to beat him. Tell Abdullah to beat him. Tell Abdullah to beat him. So the referee looked at me and said, beat him. Beat him. I said, no, they want me to look. Beat him. And I beat him in the ring. 1, 2, 3. I rode outside. And then I grabbed him. I said, me beat, right? So we go to Vancouver. So Rod Finton says, hey, boy, you done a hell of a job up there. He says, but we need another name for you. Right now they're calling you Butcher. But in Vancouver they had like a lot of Indians. He said, we're going to call you Abdullah the Butcher. So he said, but we got to get you a manager. And I said, no. I said, the only manager that I want is George Cannon, because George Cannon was the one who brought me out here. Rod Finton says, he said, we didn't even know you were coming up here. We didn't know nothing about you. And I said, sir, I don't believe that. And he says, go tell that crybaby Cannon to come here. I want to talk to him. And he got there. He says, did you tell us that Abdullah the Butcher was coming in here? We didn't know that he was coming in here until he hit Seattle or whatever. And when he said, yeah, but, I knew he was and I told Rod Finton, I said, okay, sir, I believe you. And another time, me and George Cannon and Gino Bittel, we were going through the Canadian tunnel. And George Cannon got there and said, holy shit, damn, we got a flat tire. So he says, Abdullah, do me a favor, please. Would you check, the back tire? So me like a fool at 4 o'clock in the morning, he got up there and I got out of the car and he took off real fast in the tunnel. And they go to the custom guy, they say, hey, there's a black guy in the tunnel and he's going, he's screaming and hollering. So here comes 2 police cars, the custom cars. And I got there and the guy says, take it easy, take it easy, take it easy. I said, those 2 white sons of bitches, they left me in the tunnel. They told me they had a flat tire, and they put me in their car. They took me back to the thing. And then I got up there, and the guy said, we know who you are. That's okay. But next time they come through, we'll fix them. So when I went home, I called the fire department, and I sent them to George Cannon's house.
I've got a caller calling in. This is an old friend of yours. Is that Dennis?
Thank you. Abby, this is Dennis Brent. Used to be the photographer at WCW in World Class.
Yes. How are you, my friend? How's it going?
Fine. In WCW, we used to be such good friends. We would do things where you would get DQ'd and they'd go to commercial. You'd jump out of the ring and look at me and chase me and hit me with your kendo stick, and I'd fall down and sell it. A lot of fun. We'd in Dallas at Reunion Arena. My parents were in the front row, and you did that, and my father was ready to jump over the rail. And afterwards, I brought him in the back and introduced you to him, and he said, I thought that man was a butcher. I said, he is, but not to me.
It was good. Those were good days.
Abby, if you were giving advice to a worker, a young guy breaking in today, what would be some of the things you would be telling him, from a guy that was one of the greatest heels in the history of our business?
Number one, do not copy any other wrestler, because when you copy him, then you're only a cobbler. and you're not really getting over. You got to come with your own gimmick. And
great advice. Don't be an Elvis impersonator.
That's right. You got to be your own. You got to be different. If you're going to be a heel, you cannot go out there and do the same thing what everybody else is doing, or copy this or copy that, or copy this. You can't do it, because when you start doing that, then you're like everybody else.
What advice would you give them about ring psychology, Ab?
The main part about it is like when you go to like a musician or whatever, you stare at the people, and when you stare at the people, you stare at somebody, and when you keep staring at them, as soon as you see them that moving their face like they're scared of you, you stick with them, and then when they start turning their heads, you understand, that means that you have them hooked. You got the people hooked. Gentlemen, I hate to let you go, but I got to go because I got people at my restaurant, they're remodeling the place for me.
Okay, Abby, listen, that's the one. I'll let you go, but I was going to ask you about your restaurant. That's in Atlanta? And it's
Atlanta, Georgia, 2387 Salburn Road. We have barbecue. We have everything here. I have a thing here, flowers while you live. And what that means flowers while you live. You know what I mean? Every time somebody gives you flowers is when you're dead. Give the people flowers when they're still alive so they can smell them. All right, Mr. Hart Jr., take care of yourself.
Great talking to you. I really loved hearing some of your stories, and you never let us down. You're always first class. Thanks very much, my friend.
God bless all the Harts. I'd like to see that Calgary, Alberta come up again. Take care of yourself, and remember, you only have one mother and one father. Take care of them. All right, guys, take care.
Wow, what an incredible hour. Holy cow, I'm just in awe. That's why I like going to Cauliflower so much and sitting down with like yourself, Bob, and Dick Beyer, the Destroyer, the incredible stories, whether they're about a certain match or about all the stories of Tillman that you've told me, putting the coat on the dog in his hotel room and turning the lights out. I mean, all that stuff is just incredible.
Thanks very much, Trevor and Dennis and Abby. Had a great time tonight and enjoyed your company. So thanks very much.
Thank you for allowing me to be part of this. It truly is an honor and a privilege to be part of this.
God bless and thank you.
It's Bob Johnson for Heartbeat Radio, thanking Trevor Blanchard, Dennis Brent, and again Abdullah the Butcher, our great guest this evening, and of course the legend himself, Bruce Hart. Thank you for supporting Heartbeat Radio. Have a great night.